in the Public Works, Parks, Recreation, Environment Committee meeting to order for today, June 15th, 2020. And for the viewing audience, my name is Councilman TJ Clark, the Majority Leader for the City Council, and I'm co-chair of OMBGA. And we have here our Council President, Mally Rosado, the committee co-chair, and we also joined by Councilman John Gale, who is a member of the OMBGA committee meeting, as well as the Parks, Public Works, Recreation, Environment Committee meeting. We have Councilwoman Marilyn Rossetti, who is the chair of the Public Works, Parks, Recreation, Environment Committee, and Councilwoman Shirley Surgeon, who was a member of the OMBGA committee meeting as well. And so we would like to get right into the agenda. And so for this special joint committee meeting, we will be taking up item number 1 on our agenda, which is a company resolution by Mayor Bronin that would allow the city to enter into an agreement to replace the old fleet of golf cars and service vehicles with new units. Under the agreement, the vendor EasyGo will provide service and maintenance for the new golf cars and service vehicles at no additional cost to the city. And I see, thank you for that. We also joined by Councilwoman Wildelise Bermudez, who is a member of the OMBGA committee meeting as well. And I just think that we should also highlight, we have representatives from the City's Corporation Counsel Office, our Corporation Counsel, Howard Rifkin, Attorney Jim Delvesco. We have our interim Director of Management and Budget and Grants Office, Bob Dakers, and our COO of the City of Hartford, Thea Montanez as well. So as previously stated, let's go right in. Oh, I'm sorry. And we also have our acting director of Department of Public Works, Mike Looney, who has joined us as well. And so with that, let's go into item number 1. Who from the administration would like to discuss the contract that is before us?
Councilman Michael Looney, Acting Director of DPW for the City of Hartford. With me here tonight on screen is Patrick Aldridge, who is our representative from the Connecticut section of the PGA. And we're here tonight regarding an agreement that we're proposing by and between the City of Hartford and EasyGo, which is a division of a larger company called Textron, and EasyGo's financial institution relative to the leasing of golf carts and service vehicles for the Goodwin Park golf course. We are coming to the end of our initial 5-year lease agreement for golf carts and service carts at Goodwin. As part of the process of preparing for a new lease, Patrick Aldrich has been working with EasyGo and their financial institution on the terms of a new lease. This new lease that's proposed would include completely replacing our fleet of golf carts at Goodwin Golf Course. Right now, the carts there are fairly old, either from 2011 or 2013. As part of this agreement, we would get 66 new carts, which would be newly manufactured and most likely brought to Goodwin in late July or early August for delivery. The new terms of the lease agreement, which would be like the one that's in place now, would be 5 years, and the payments would be done 6 times a year. The installment payments would be approximately $6,500 per month or per payment, which compares to about $5,400 that we pay per month now. So
per month, Mike, or per payment?
Per payment. There are 6 payments per year.
So you said 5,400 per month. You meant per payment?
per payment.
Okay.
We pay 6 monthly payments, and then we have 6 months during the year when we don't pay anything for the card.
Okay.
So we're talking about an increase in about $30,000, $35,000 in cost. However, we would be receiving brand new carts, and right now our older carts require a significant amount of service, obviously, because they're 7 to 9 years old at this point. We figure with the new carts, they'll have additional features that weren't available in the older carts back in 2011, 2013. And so a very small increase of perhaps maybe 50 cents per round for each round played with a cart would be more than enough of a 5-year period to cover the cost of the increase for the new cart. So our proposal is again a 5-year agreement. We've gone through procurement on this. The EasyGo quote that we got, we were able to obtain through a national level purchasing cooperative, which allows us to go forward with them without having to go through a formal RFP process, because the sort of competition for price occurs as part of the co-op. So procurement has already given us the green light for the agreement. Those are the basic framework of this new agreement. And I would be happy to take any questions. As I mentioned, Patrick Aldrich is also here to answer any questions as well.
Councilman Clark, I have a question.
Yes, Councilwoman Rossetti.
How does this compare to the cart agreement at Keeney?
It's quite a bit less than what we have at Keeney, because the cards at Keeney have GPS units built into them.
Because they might get lost on the golf course?
No, the GPS units that we have at Keeney Park are designed to be an amenity for the golfers. It will tell them how far they are on a particular hole from the green.
Oh, okay.
Like that. So they are a little bit more costly technology-wise, although they are coming down. So the next lease, if we choose to go that direction, could be less. They also allow you to do some advertising for the restaurant or during outings to do scoring. So we take a little advantage of that.
Pay the upkeep. We do the maintenance on the carts, or does the leasing agent?
The leasing agent takes care of all the maintenance, and that is included in the price of the lease. There's no additional cost for that.
And how many carts presently do we have? Old ones?
I believe about 65.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Rossetti, you all set?
Yeah, thank you.
All right. The chair recognizes Councilwoman Sturgeon. We can hear you, Councilwoman.
You're on mute. Thank you, Mr. Looney. Question is, what is the cost of renting per person for golfing for the when they rent the cart?
It's $11 for a 9-hole round and $17 for an 18-hole round.
So does that cover, would the rental cover your quarterly payment of $65,000, or is it subsidized?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
So with $11 or $17, does the rental of the carts, of the 66 carts, would that cover your installment payment of $6,500?
On a monthly basis, yes, that probably does. Yeah.
So there would be no subsidy to the leasing cost?
No, there isn't a subsidy, no. It's really a profit turn, because we probably do about 200,000 a year
On the rental of the cart?
on the rounds with the carts.
So basically, this covers the rental of it and with also a small profit left over.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. Cut
No,
off.
so basically, the rental and the cost per round covers the rental cost or your leasing costs, plus with a small profit left over per quarter.
Yes, I'd say that's correct. Yeah.
Well, thank you so very much.
You're welcome.
Director Looney, maybe I missed this, but is this does this cover both of our golf courses here in the city?
No, Councilman, this would only cover Goodwin. I believe Keeney's lease is coming up in this winter. We'll be renegotiating that one, trying to get a new lease for parks up there.
Would it be for the same vendor?
Right now, not sure at this point, but we're going to probably look at this vendor as one of the possibilities.
Okay, and what other golf courses around the area actually uses the vendor that's been recommended?
I'm not aware of any of which ones might be using them, Patrick.
Easy Go and Club Car are the two largest vendors in our area. Yamaha is the third large company that does golf cars, but they have a very small footprint right now in Connecticut. So there are a number of other Easy Go golf courses in the area. I don't know exactly which ones are which right now.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from my colleagues?
I have a question.
Okay, Councilwoman Bermudez and then Councilman Gale.
So the contract, and looking back at the previous contract with Mayor Segarra, it has some similar stipulations in that the city could potentially purchase at the end of the lease. I'm just curious to know why the city hasn't purchased the golf carts. Why do we continue leasing?
The cost of, Councilman, the cost of purchasing these carts at the end of this lease, the balloon payment of about $82,000. Now, while we would then own the carts and not have to make 6 monthly payments a year, we'd be stuck with older carts that require a lot of service. And Patrick, correct me if I'm wrong, we would not have any option of having Easy Go do any more service on those carts.
We would have to sign a contract for that service and pay for it. It would not be free any longer.
So that's really we want to have somebody for monthly payments that are really not that expensive. We don't have to worry about servicing the carts ourselves, and we're not actually owning older carts that would be tougher for us to try to keep maintained.
Okay, so another question. So why not have, since the city rents out, if you will, the property so that it could be managed by another entity, although DPW provides maintenance for taking care of the parks, why not have the entity that you lease it to be the one that purchases the golf carts? So thereby the members of the golf course would pay the direct cost rather than the city paying up front.
Patrick, you want?
I think that would sort of require a change in your business model right now, which is certainly possible going forward. When the last management company was removed from its position in 2013 and the city chose to take over management of the courses in 2014, they developed a business model with independent contractors and nonprofits to run it. And so they pay a contractor to do the superintendent work, a contractor to do your golf operations, but the city keeps track of all the accounting, pays the bills, and brings in all the revenue before paying out any contracted costs. So right now, the city does not actually have a lease where they've given the golf course over to another company to run. The city is really the manager of the golf courses with DPW at the lead, and they work with the independent contractors to put the policies in place and do the work.
So you said the independent contractor does some of the work. Can you just explain what that is?
The city has a contract with Gilmet Golf LLC to be your maintenance provider at the two golf courses. So they will go over the budgets with DPW and help with ordering of products for the golf courses, supplies and landscaping items. They also work with the Knox nonprofit organization on the staffing of the golf course. The city has an independent contractor agreement with two different companies to do the golf management side of things, which is running the pro shop, the driving range, the tournaments, the outings, and general control of the golf course tee sheet. So those are the different entities that you have involved.
You know if those different entities that you've mentioned have a preference towards hiring Hartford residents?
I don't know if they have a preference. I know that we have been given them instructions that we prefer that they hire as many Hartford residents as they can. I know they do all their reporting to the City Hall office with EEO and things like that, and get audited on those items. And I know the Gilmets deal with Knox on that situation. It's a requirement for all of the golf course maintenance staff employees to be Hartford residents.
A program for youth to learn how to golf at either one of the golf courses?
Both golf courses have youth programming. We have a partnership with the First Tee of Connecticut at Goodwin Park that is very strong. We have a smaller partnership with them at Keeney that got off the ground last year and is expected to continue this year. And then both of the professional operators at each course run their own set of junior programs. And I know this year, before we had all this coronavirus happen, I know there was a potential U.S. kids golf program that may have been getting started at Goodwin as well. So yes, we try to have some good programming for junior golfers.
Questions?
Thank you. Councilman Gill?
Yeah, I had raised my hand because I wasn't sure if all questions were answered to this point. I would make a motion for a favorable recommendation of this. And I'm not sure if I'm a member of both committees, and I think it's both committees that are reviewing this particular resolution. So
that's correct.
Subject to Chairwoman Rossetti, I'm happy to make one motion for both committees to send it back favorably to council at this point.
I think I saw Councilman LeBron's hand. Sorry, Councilman Clark.
No, that's fine. Thank you. Councilman LeBron?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I have a question, and I want to apologize for me jumping on late. So if you answered this question, again, my apologies in advance. So the question I have, in terms of your highlights that you submitted to council members via the PowerPoint, there was a mention in terms of that there was both an increase in the usage of golf courses and also and that the conditions in both golf courses continue to improve. Can you just go into a little bit more depth in terms of how did we increase the usage, or what did that increase of usage look like? And did that bring potentially more revenue? And then in terms of the conditions, what specifically happened? And I'm more obviously we're talking about Goodwin here, so if you could highlight more Goodwin than Keeney, that would be great.
Sure, I'll answer that a little bit, Councilman. I'll have Patrick jump in as well with some more of the details. At Goodwin, we've beginning with last spring, we started to see a noticeable increase in the number of rounds being played. There's probably a number of reasons for that. I like to think that when we came to council and asked to set the golf rates for the season, that we put together a good set of rates that was competitively priced and put us at a bit of a price advantage compared to other golf courses that might be drawing golfers, particularly from the southern end of Hartford, and that we had a good bead on what the market would be and where we could take advantage of that. I also think that just some of the stewardship of both the golf pros and the superintendents in terms of the maintenance has just been very good, very strong, and that is in and of itself brought out more golfers as word gets around that these are very high quality golf courses and provide a good experience for a very reasonable rate. There's probably a number of factors. Just Patrick, I don't know if you have a couple that you can think of that might also contribute.
Sure. I think obviously this spring has provided some reasonably good weather. This strange coronavirus time has allowed golf to be one of the major sort of outdoor activities that was allowed during most of this time, especially in Connecticut. So we have had a bit of a bump early in the year when Massachusetts was closed for golf. So that was helpful. The courses are getting in better condition because the superintendents have been given, the right materials to do their job. And I think at Keeney Park, you can clearly see that recovering from the kind of wet fall and summer we had last year has really taken off. And at Goodwin Park, a number of years of improved drainage and some repairing of some irrigation leaks has allowed them to reach more areas with supplemental water. And so it's really what's starting to show off.
And just a follow-up question, just real quick, and I apologize. The golf courses, do they lose money? Do they make money, or is it a wash in terms of the amount of money spent compared to the amount of money we get back?
Councilman, the quick answer to your question is that from a net operating standpoint, both golf courses, I think combined now are pretty close to being a wash, but when you include in the cost of depreciation, which we carry on the books, they do run in the negative, and we do have a transfer of supplemental funds from the general fund to cover that shortage.
Thank you both. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Councilman.
Councilman Mishta.
Thank you, and I'm going to say the same thing that Councilman LeBron said. I hopped on a little late, so forgive me if this was already answered. But following right up on what he asked, I know both golf courses have lost money, at least for the last 3 years, I think for the last 5. What needs to happen to change that? I mean, you said business is improving, but I also heard you say that a contractor sets the fees. What can the city do to make the golf courses profitable?
Councilman, probably the simplest way to do it is just continue to try to get more people playing rounds at the golf courses, and we have been moving upwards on that. But also on the other side of the ledger, there's kind of the complex task of getting the best pricing we can for all of our services and for our contractors that we use, both the golf pros and the superintendents, as well as what we spend on other items such as being judicious with the amount of water we use for irrigation, the electric and gas bills, things like that. Also, we get a portion of the revenue from both restaurants, smaller one at Goodwin, and then the larger Keeney Tavern up at Keeney Golf Course. And seeing them increase their business and have more customers also has a benefit to us and could help raise our revenue. But, we have a couple of things on the the cost side of the equation that are significant. The maintenance cost of the golf courses is probably our biggest expense. So we've been, last year we went out to bid just to see if we could get even better pricing than we already had for the superintendent contract at Goodwin. And, you know, we're going to keep trying to test the market, you know, more frequently to see, you know, where we can achieve savings and make our financial position even better.
A quick follow-up question to that. How much would, sorry about my shrieking baby, how much would you have to increase the number of people golfing over what it is now to reach profitability? And when were the courses last profitable, if ever?
Patrick, you have any sense of that?
I think right now, if you could do approximately 1,500 to 2,000 more rounds at each golf course, that would be a significant dent in any operating deficit you have.
What is that as a percentage?
That is approximately 15%, maybe about 16% increase.
Yeah.
I know that our numbers right now, as we're looking at the fiscal year, we're going to come in a good 1,000 rounds above projections at both golf courses because we've had such a strong spring and a reasonably good fall last year. It'll be interesting to see how that pans out when we look at our calendar year numbers. And I think you'll probably, now that you've built up a larger league schedule, the league rounds at both golf courses have improved or increased in the last 2 years. This year is a little bit of a strange one for all our outings. Right now, all our outings are scheduled for August, September, and October, and we'll hopefully be able to get to them. But both of your golf courses have increased their outing schedules the last 2 to 3 years as well. So all that, you know, pans out for consistent business going forward. It's just been a slow rise each year, and I think we're on our way to break even very soon.
Did the courses ever break even before or make a profit?
The Keeney Park Golf Course has had one season where it was operationally profitable by about $10,000, I think, in the last 3 or 4 years since it opened. Previous to that, under the last management company, they may have operated at a profit, but I think the cost there was they weren't putting any more money into the golf courses, which caused the problem.
Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you. Any more questions?
I have one additional question.
Councilwoman Bermudez?
Thank you. So, Mr. Looney, you had mentioned the depreciating value of the golf courses, and we noted that during this budget process there was a specific line item that was the title was Golf Enterprise, for which the city has to allocate $260,000 a year. Can you just explain a little bit further on how the depreciating value works and why we're paying that amount yearly for the golf courses?
I can jump in a little on that one for you. I know when this project was put together in 2014, they set aside the enterprise fund with a certain thought process on the golf operations. And then as it went along, they decided at City Hall that the right way to run it with the properly through an enterprise fund was to also include all the accounting needed for the facilities. So even though there was a time when the facilities management of the clubhouses was going to remain under Public Works and under the facilities department, it was moved into the golf fund as an added expense. That you combine the value of the land, the amount of money that was invested in the Keeney Park clubhouse and golf course, the amount of equipment that we purchased for the maintenance departments at both golf courses, and all those items, the value is added to the enterprise fund and then slowly expensed year by year as a depreciating asset. And at some point, depending on what exactly the asset is, whether the city uses a 7, 10, or 50-year depreciation schedule, they will eventually drop off and you'll escape from that expense. And the goal is to use some of that equipment after the expenses have gone away. So you're actually saving some money as, you know, on accounting wise. It's not actually a cash item on the operating side of the ledger.
Hear you correctly, did you say that would take maybe 50 years to do?
That, I believe, is more of the depreciation schedule that the city uses for land and some of the major building projects. The maintenance equipment, I think, is on a 7 to 10-year schedule, and some of the other smaller items that have been purchased in 14, 15, and 16 when the project is getting started. So some of those will start coming off the books in 21, 22, 23.
Any more questions? Councilman LeBron?
Yeah, so just real quick, I want, in terms of the youth golf programming, the governor announced that the golf would be, that all youth sports would be open Wednesday or somewhere in the near future. Would the youth golf programs therefore be open and all the fields and parks be open as well in Hartford?
The parks are open now. We just have measures in place like the social distancing, the wearing masks. In terms of the league starting back up again, that's still part of the conversation that we're having as a city administration as to when exactly those things are going to happen.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Mitchell.
Just, I know we kind of talked around this, so forgive me if I, again, missed the answer, but when do you anticipate that the golf courses will be profitable?
Yeah, based upon the rate that things have been increasing at the courses in terms of rounds played, it would probably be a couple of more years, maybe 3 to 4 years would be my best guess at this point.
Councilwoman Rossetti?
Maybe you answered this also. What's a typical depreciation schedule? I think you said 50. What's a typical? Are we on the high side? Is it more like 25 to 30?
Well, again, I just mentioned a few of the options that get used. I've looked at some of the numbers that the city has. They have a variety of ones. The 7 and 10 year on the maintenance equipment and some of the other stuff around the golf course is probably more typical. I think the 50 is really for long-term assets such as land and improved property.
So what you're saying is once those are fully depreciated, our net will rise, correct?
Yes, some of those items should definitely last beyond their depreciation life schedule, and you should be able to take them off the books and still use them for a certain length of time before they become prohibitive to repair.
Thank you.
Okay, going back to Councilman Gale. Councilman, you're on mute.
Sorry, thank you. I'm happy to make a motion for both committees and maybe take a vote separately for each one. I'm not sure how you want to do that, but I certainly would move that we send this back to council with a favorable recommendation.
Councilman LeBron, do you want to second that? Or are we doing it separate? How are we going to do this, TJ?
What I'm going to do is I'm going to call down the roll for both committees.
Okay.
So you would just, after I call your name, you just signify what your pleasure is.
So I second the motion.
Ali's hand is up.
Yes.
Councilwoman.
I got an I see here. So it's been made by Councilman Gale, motion by Councilman Gale. It's been seconded by Councilman LeBron. Is there any discussion? Council President. You're on mute, Council President. Council President, you're on mute.
I just have a question, and maybe Howard can clarify this. This is actually, and for the public that's viewing, which I just had a question text to me, is I know that when Councilman Clark said that he would just call the roll on a joint committee, is everyone able to vote, or should it just be the members of that committee that are actually able to vote, for point of clarification from Attorney Rifkin?
Through you, Mr. Chair, as I understand it, this particular matter was referred to both committees. And so all members of both committees can vote on this. The other two items on your agenda, I believe, were only referred to OMBGA.
Thank you, Howard.
Thank you, Mr. Corporation Counsel, for your opining. Is there any other discussion on item number 1? Any other discussion? Councilman Gale, discussion?
Just for completeness sake, why don't we get if there is one, why don't we get a second from the OMB committee as well?
I second it.
Okay.
Okay, so there's a new second on the floor. It's been properly motioned by Councilman Gale and seconded by Councilwoman Surgeon. And is there any other discussion on item number 1? Any other discussion? All right. As I call your name, please give me what your pleasure is. Council President Rosado?
Yes.
Councilwoman Surgeon?
Yes.
Councilwoman Bermudez? Councilwoman Bermudez? I'll go back. Councilman Gale? I'm sorry, what did you say, Councilwoman?
No.
Okay. Councilman Gale?
I will vote yes for OMB, and I'm also on Parks, and I vote yes on Parks.
So you get a double yes, okay. Councilman Clark, yes. Councilwoman Rossetti?
Yes.
Councilman LeBron?
Yes on Parks.
All right, the motion will pass with a favorable recommendation to the Court of Common Council's next regular scheduled meeting. Thank you very much to Director Looney and to Patrick. So this actually concludes the joint committee, special joint committee of OMBGA and the Public Works, Parks, Recreation and Environment Committee. All those council members that are not a part of the OMBGA committee meeting as voting members can stay on. But we have 2 items to discuss that are in the OMBGA meeting. So moving on to agenda item number 2, which is an ordinance amendment chapter 2, appointments of department heads, requirements, section 850, residency requirements of the municipal code. I'm sorry. And who do we have representing the administration that would like to give a presentation?
Council Chair.
Yes, sir.
Before we get into a presentation, I'm thinking that this might be better taken up before a committee of the whole. And so I'd like to move this off of the OMBG agenda and put it onto the committee of the whole agenda.
Is that a motion, Councilman?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, that's a motion to
I'll second the motion.
Okay, it has been properly motioned by Councilman Gale to refer this item out of OMBGA to a committee of the whole. and has been seconded by Council President Rizzardo. Is there any discussion on this item? Any discussion on this item? Okay. So when I call your name, please signify what your pleasure is. Council President Rosado,
Yes.
Councilwoman Bermudez,
But to the committee of the whole, correct?
yes.
Yes.
Councilman Gale,
Yes.
Councilwoman Surgeon,
No, I'm gonna vote no, because I truly believe that, committee items is the same committee, so no.
okay, and Councilman Clark, I'm going to vote no, because I think that this ordinance should be taken up in the said committee that was originally intended to. But the item passes, so this will be referred to a committee of the whole. Okay.
A question, my question is, so you're voting to send the committee as a whole, so is the OMB committee, discharging a committee and sending it to committee of the whole?
I think, and I'll defer to Attorney Rifkin, but I think that this is the majority will of the committee. So
So is it the proper, voting should have been discharging it from the committee from the OMB to the committee as a whole? I don't know what the proper wording is. And can the Honorable Corporation Counsel answer that question, please?
Attorney Rifkin.
Sure, through you, Mr. Chair. A motion to discharge would bring the item back to the full council. And the way our council rules are written, a discharge from a committee would mean that committee it does not have to file the report. It really brings the item that's in the committee back to the council, and that can be done in one of two ways, either through a discharge by the committee chair or co-chairs, or through a vote of 5 members of the council. But again, that would bring it back to the full council. Under Robert's rules, a committee can make a motion to refer an item before it to another committee, which is what was done in this case.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And moving on to item number 3, which is an ordinance amending Chapter 2, Section 102, Municipal Code of the City of Hartford, changing the Office of Human Relations to that of Equity and Opportunity within the Finance Department in the Office of the Chief Operating Officer. And we have our Chief Operating Officer, Thea Montanez, here to make her presentation.
Hi, good evening, Majority Leader Clark, Council President Rosado, members of City Council. I am here to provide a little bit more background information, answer any questions that you may have regarding Mayor Broden's ordinance revisions that were submitted on April 27th as it pertains to the Office of Human Relations. So as indicated in Majority Leader Clark's comments, the Office of Human Relations is currently a function within procurement, which is within the Department of Finance. It is focused on contract compliance and assuring that those contractors that have received construction-related contracts from the City of Hartford are adhering to requirements that we have in place regarding the number of Hartford residents that are hired for construction projects, the number of minority-owned businesses, that are contracted to do work as part of these construction projects, as well as the number of minority and women owned businesses that also benefit from these construction projects. The second focus is also related to boards and commissions and providing administrative support for about 5 EEO-related boards and commissions. And so for the past several years, the Office of Human Relations, as I indicated, has focused on those 2 specific areas: contract compliance and some boards and commissions. Given our budget constraints, about a year ago, I began exploring how we could leverage this position so it just doesn't solely benefit contract compliance. And given, I think, the fact that there are several departments throughout the city of Hartford that should also be looking to increase the number of residents that we are hiring at various levels, I thought that this was something, this position could benefit all operating departments and not just procurement. And so what you see before you in the resolution or the ordinance changes that were submitted was our interest in broadening the scope of the Office of Human Relations so that it would include administering and ensuring compliance with city policies to equal employment opportunity, affirmative action, and Americans with Disabilities Act, as well as developing and conducting training related to diversity and inclusion. So with a focus across all operating departments, there would be a shift. So the Office of Human Relations would go from being housed, for lack of better words, inside of the finance department within procurement to shifting to my office here in the Office of the Chief Operating Officer, again, hoping to integrate the various training and policies we put into place into all of our operating departments. At this point, I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the floor? Councilman Gale?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. When I took a second read through the proposed ordinance and with sensitivity to all of the events that have occurred in the last several weeks, a couple of thoughts occurred to me, and I'm just wondering how the administration and other members feel about this. Particularly, for instance, in subsection 1D, where the current ordinance talks about providing regular reports to the mayor and council. The last sentence says such reports shall include information on the activities of the Civilian Police Review Board and other boards and commissions supported by the office. And I'm wondering if we want to include the PARB, the Police Accountability Review Board, in that language. The other thing that I'm wondering is in subsection F, where it talks about developing and continuing training on matters related to diversity, inclusion, equal employment opportunity, and affirmative action, whether we would like to include racism and cultural sensitivity in that list to, make it clear that we as a city are interested in developing and conducting training on all of these different areas. I mean, it may have already implied all of these things, but a friend of mine says chicken soup when it can't hurt. But I think it would certainly express very clearly. So I just throw that out there for some debate, some conversation from other members as to whether we think this would be important. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Gale. I think that can be implied. I know that when I had these discussions with the mayor's office, did not have an idea about PARB at the time. And I have had conversations with the mayor's office after prior to introducing the resolution to create PARB, about the Equity and Opportunity Office having a part in working with PARB. But our conversations went from the premise of putting that language in after this equity and opportunity depart office was actually voted on by council. But I'm not sure if the recommended amendments to the ordinance would constitute as a substantial change. So Howard, would you be able to give an opinion on that?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I think that the kinds of changes that Councilman Gale is suggesting would not, if they were modified either in committee or on the council floor itself, would constitute a substantive change such that it would have to go back to a public hearing.
You
I'm
say
sorry,
would or would not?
Would not. NOT.
Okay.
I think it's somewhat implicit in the language creating the office.
Okay, Councilman Gill.
Yeah, and I certainly, I that's right. Really, my intent was just to clarify, not to change, because after all, subsection D says Civilian Police Review Board and other boards and commissions. But here we would just be clarifying by adding the name of another one, and likewise on subsection, just expanding by adding a couple of very specific words, but really encompassed by the existing language, I think.
Okay. Any other questions for Ms. Montanez or members of the committee? None? Okay, hearing none. The chair entertain a motion. Councilman Gill.
I'll make a motion to send it back with a favorable recommendation with the two suggestions that I've made. That is adding Police Accountability Review Board to subsection D and adding racism and cultural sensitivity to subsection F in the list of descriptions of type of training provided.
I second the motion.
All right, seconded by Council President Rosado to include, so we have it right, in subsection D will include PARB, the Police Accountability Review Board. Subsection F will also include racism and cultural sensitivity training. Did I get that right, Councilman?
But yeah, happy to provide a draft to go back to council on it.
Thank you, sir. Any discussion?
No.
Seeing none, let's call the roll. Council President Rosado,
Yes.
Councilwoman Surgeon,
Yes.
Councilwoman Bermudez,
Yes.
Councilman Clark, yes. The motion passed for favorable recommendation with the small edits.
Wonderful.
So thank you so
you.
much. We do have, that concludes the agenda actually. There is a item listed for other business, and we have we've been graced by the presence of Brian Gallagher. I'm not sure if he had something that he wanted to address the committee.
Hello, everyone. Brian Gallagher, PREC chair. No, I was just, I'm actually meeting on Wednesday with the other committee on this with recreation. But I wanted to really express from PREC our hopes to be able to get things going in the parks. And things are starting to open up in other towns, and we still have no permits or ability to permit for fields in the city. And also our playgrounds are not in use, or they're not supposed to be in use, but are being used every single day. So I know we might want to think about how to figure out ways to make it safe for everybody to use them, but still allow people to be outside to use them because they're going to use it either way. So I feel like we might want to start looking at that, moving forward on that. And I sent a recommendation out to City Council and the mayor and his staff, I believe a week ago, with kind of our recommendations that we talked about at PRAC.
Thank you, sir. So what meeting are you referring to on Wednesday?
The meeting, oh my God, I'm not gonna remember the name of it. Nick LeBron set up the meeting.
Yeah, he's on the agenda for the labor, education, work, youth, and youth career development.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, since we
Lots of different acronyms, sorry.
Yeah, Louis, we call it Louis. We call it Louis.
Louis.
Councilman Gill?
Yeah, I would just note that I don't know if this has happened to other members, but I have had many inquiries as well about whether our playgrounds are open. We should, maybe we'll hear on Wednesday, we can get some kind of an update from administration on what the plan is. I see our COO shaking her head. Yes. Thank you. Thank you for that. And yeah, fine. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Brian, for your service on the PRAC committee. Thank you, everyone. Since we have no other business to discuss, this OMBGA committee meeting is now adjourned.
Thank you. Have a nice night.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.